welcome to another FACEHAMMER tournament report show. And today, the day after the Justice Series team event, we thought we would do a show covering the event, what we took, how the games went, talking a little bit about our list evolutions and our learning points. So we're going to deep dive into a bit of tournament Warhammer and really get into Nurgle and Deepkin in quite a big way.
Yeah, it's going to be just a proper nerd out match play sesh on specifically those two, I guess, isn't it?
Well, that's what we played. So
at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. It was super interesting to go to a team event. It was 8-man teams, and we were
my fave.
Yeah, we did a 4-man at Warhammer World like recently, which was cool. I think I prefer 4-man format, but or maybe 6 is the sweet spot. I don't know, but
yeah, maybe 6 is actually. Cool.
And we were lucky enough to basically get pulled into the Ninja Badger team, which was Paul Buckler and the guys from even further down south than me, so down in the Dorset way.
Yeah, us and Tom got drafted in, didn't we? So it ended up being like a half mercenary team.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously it's a long way to go, a few dropouts, and but I was super stoked to be offered a spot and able to get more Deepkin out, and I took
the same Deepkin. Actually, right? I didn't. Both of us didn't have time. Because of submissions, we had to take exactly the same list that we did last time, whether we wanted to or not, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah. So if you've seen the last video, and I was extolling the reason that aspect of the sea should never see the light of day and say in the cabinet, obviously he must have heard me, because this weekend it was like the opposite. He was like, "No, I'm really good.
I knew it happened.
Take me." So it's left.
Look, I'm awesome. I do all of these things a bit, and
successfully.
Yeah,
it's left me in a little bit of a quandary about what to do for Carnage, but that's another discussion. So it was a bit of a strange format because it was using the World's Pack, but it was 6 teams, 5 rounds. So actually, we ended up playing every team once, which I think is quite cool. And I think then personally, like, you know, it could have always been like a knockout. Do you know what I mean? It could have always been like a knockout tournament, which would have been quite interesting. But obviously, you don't know at the time how many teams you'll get. So, yeah. But it was good. It's in Liverpool, held by
high
Richie.
Quality of players there as well.
Yeah. So we had like
particularly strong teams.
Team Wales pretty much in attendance, and then Team JP, which has got some strong players on it, like Darren was on the team, and JP himself, and then like Matt Tinsdale and others, and then you had like a couple of local teams. So I think
really good attendance from Liverpool guys supporting the event, which is awesome to see. The guy who ended up getting best painted, I think it was his first event ever. Maybe. Yeah.
I played a guy who started playing AOS on the Friday because I think they had dropouts, and he was like, "Oh, we need more people." But he did seem to know what he was doing, so I don't think he was quite as new as perhaps he was letting on. But that's the suspicious nature of me. So maybe it's a good idea to do a recap about just what we took. I do have the list PDF. Excuse the format of this. It's as I would describe it, 1980s metal band front cover background, and it's in a landscape format. So I'll try and make this as good as I can. So when we go to our opponents, so the list PDF, I'll put a link to it so you'll be able to look at it. I'm sure it's available online. And I'll get to our list. So we are the Ninja Badgers, apparently. Which was the fun name, and where did we go? Paul Buckler, so me. So my list, just quickly go through it, is Idoneth Deepkin, obviously. I'm playing Morfan with the Creeping Gloomtide Grand Strategy, which is don't let enemies near your boat, and the reason is because you couldn't duplicate them across teams, and so I took one of the book ones, which I thought was okay. This is why I didn't take the Creeping Gloomtide artifact or the Surging Gloom to bring up a boat, because then they've got 2 places to go, so it doesn't make sense. Otherwise I probably would have took that as my artifact. So it is the Achillean Thrall Master, the Ishran Soul Render General, with Teachers of Turskull, which allows me to reverse the tides. Eidolon and Mathlan, Aspect of the Sea, with the Kraken Tooth, which is the Release the Kraken artifact, which is on a 1, take D3, 2 to 5 to take D3, 6 you kill it, unless it's got more than 10 wounds, so you take 2d6 mortals. He had the Steed of Tides. Battle line was 10 Reavers, then 10 Thralls, 1 Alapex, 2 Alapexes, and then the Leviathan with the Reverberating Carapace to give me the 15-inch +1 save and +1 to hit buff, because I tend to be spread out quite a bit and I like the extra range, because people don't tend to target the turtle anyway. So like it makes a huge difference, especially when you're trying to get hold within the enemy and be somewhere useful. Those extra 3 inches make all the difference. So that was my list. 1980, 1 drop, and Triumph was inspired for the wound buff, which was come in use actually quite a lot.
I think, like in my opinion, if you got shooting, the wound buff makes sense, and if you've not, I just think everyone should always take the charge one. You know, unless you've got loads of access or you've got some awesome command ability or something like that.
Really funny when someone charges your Reavers and you do 2s to hit, 2s to wound, and they've got no all-out defense and they're at rend 1, and you just delete whatever charges them.
Yeah.
Because you're at +1 to hit because they're Reavers, and +1 because the turtle's in range, and they're like, oh, so it's 2s, then 2s, and it's like 20
and half
dice.
A unit makes it into combat.
Yeah. Which I may have done a few times. It's also like why I was thinking about having a unit of 3 sharks, because you buff all the shots with 1 CP basically.
I got mullered.
It also makes a rally.
Nurgle got shot by just
good.
2 sharks standing and shooting.
Yeah, they hit hard. I always tend to roll. I had some really bad rolls this weekend. Like I threw the wound rolls, and it's like 1 1 2 2 2 2 1, and I'm just like, it's like wound on 3s. I roll lots of 1s and 2s. It just seems very irritating. But anyway, I always remember the bad rolls, right? So,
do you think you're having seen your list? Do you think it makes more sense in an 8-player team event than a 4-player team event, or do you think it's just the same?
It's not really a teams list. It's more like a singles list, because it's kind of doing a bit of everything.
It's got a bit more of a place in 8 players than in 4.
It does in 8 because I think it can play a lot of things okay.
Yeah.
So you can basically go into most matches and have a game, even if it's a bad match, because you've got enough variation in your army. So if you go like
more useful
all sharks and all something, then you have good and bad matches. Whereas mine's like there's a lot of ambers, but you could probably play out of it.
Yeah.
You know, I like the flexibility of the tide flip. Morfan probably isn't worth having because the unit, my thralls aren't big enough, and a lot of people have caught on to just try and really wipe units out in one go. It can be useful. Like some games, it's been essential to me. Like against Nurgle, it was amazing. It was just essential for me keeping my thrall unit up. But if that was 1 block of 20 thralls, I think it's better. But it's a difficult one.
Yeah.
I do kind of want to trial something with Life Swarm and a big unit of thralls and the regen, because I think that'd be fairly obnoxious, in a good way. But and you took Maggotkin, didn't you? So
yeah, same as last time, but with there's some things in there that I didn't choose because of other people having them in the team event, which is absolutely fine.
Yeah. So you had Befouling Host, Hold the Line, Great and Clean One, Bile Blade and Bell, Nurgle Infestation trait, which normally would be Master of Magic, I assume.
It would, yeah, and I missed it quite a lot, actually. Yeah.
And what is the Nurgle Infestation, June?
-1 to hit, period, which is quite good.
Okay. Yeah.
Like it's definitely not bad, particularly with Deepkin being around and stuff like that. But you always get your value out of Master Magic.
Yeah. With a stave, which extra disease, fleshy abundance, pretty much auto pick if you're taking plague bearers. I didn't realize that. That's just pick unit within 14. I thought it was wholly within, but it's just within. because like Brad put his unit in a big long line, and I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure you can't buff them.
It's a lot less restricted than you'd think. Same with the
because normally buffs are like wholly within, aren't they? So
the locus of fecundity is like that as well.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Like
I found that one out as well.
Right, a load of it, like, and it feels like they should be wholly within.
It feels really counterintuitive because usually, like, the rule is if it's a buff for you, it's wholly within, and if it's a thing to the enemy, it's within.
Yeah, so Nurgle book's full of little exceptions to things like that, which I like after a few more games I've realised.
Epidemus for the tally. Then you've got a Scrivener, Lord of Afflictions with the split horn helm, which I don't really rate, but
no,
you 4 at ward. Then 20 Plague Bearers, 3 beasts, 2 units of 3 drones, hunters for the Plague Bearers and drones, and Warlord Battalion.
2,000 points, so no triumph. And I would have loved reroll charges.
Did you think like the 2 units of drones should have just been like 3 more beasts and something?
No, I quite like them for the. I mean, especially once you've summoned in Sloppity, and you've got the options for getting some mortals in places. The volume of their attacks is quite good.
That's why I like them.
Yeah, I do think that if you had a mortal wizard in there, you put in blades, and then that makes a lot of sense on them because that gives you disease points on 5s and 6s to hit on melee and shooting.
Right.
And it being on shooting feels quite special because they got a lot of attacks. So if you're against, even just 10 dudes, you can just do a drive-by, max them out, probably 7 disease on them, and then just charge into something else and put a load of disease on that too. So I do like having the option for them in there. I liked putting 2 of them off the table with the Lord, but I started putting 1 of them off the table with the Lord because the footprint's just so much smaller.
Yeah,
and it's awkward putting both off. It's powerful, and you get more chances at the charges because there's 4 if you use a reroll rather than 3, which is a big difference statistically. But 1 of them off the table with the Lord was generally what I went for this time round, leaving 3 on the table just as kind of that let and go threat.
Yeah, their speedy movement of 8.
I know. You'll take anything if you're playing that type of Nurgle list. Anything is good.
Yeah, I mean, at least they can sort of be a little bit more mobile than the rest, but this is why I took Bridge when I took Nurgle. But I really like Jack Armstrong's list from Hampshire where he had lots of Puscoils.
Got a load of vanilla good stuff. They do impact hits that are mortals, which is great. They get a pre-game move. They're pretty tough. Yeah, it's a very strong list.
I did think about, in his list, just swapping the Great and Clean one for 10 Blight Kings. So you basically run 2 Maggot Lords, Lord of Afflictions, 10 Blight Kings. The rest is Puscoils, and it's a 1-drop. And you just go... not 1-drop, 2-drop. Yeah, 2-drop.
That would still be all right, yeah.
Because the Maggot Lords are not sub-commanders, or whatever they're called. Yeah. You could run double Lord of Affliction, which I think is a strat.
Well, I think double Lord of Affliction, no drones, is actually pretty good. You just have them as options.
And then you could take 2 singles as well then. So at least you've got like... Because a single Blight Lord is kind of annoying because they still put disease on, they're still okay. They pin stuff and they don't die easy.
Yeah,
and 8 wounds with a 5 up ward and 4 up armor, and they just pin a unit on the end, and they're just like, you can't move away, and you kind of have to deal with it, but you don't really want to. It's also quite an easy model to drop in their territory and just take some contagion. And I always find, like with Nurgle, you want something you can leave behind as well. If you've got a map where you've got a little territory here and a territory there, nothing in the middle, because you kind of have to keep a unit of yours back at the back.
Yep.
Just to get the contagion, because otherwise you're not getting any. And it's really easy not to be wholly.
If your opponent's got teleports or off-table drops, you feel, because it's a fairly elite army, you feel pretty bad about, like my last game, this event, I had 2 beasts held back and a Scrivener, and then like 9-inch sticks everywhere, and then I had to summon in 10 Plague Bearers to put them somewhere else, and you end up with like 5 units just kind of existing, not doing much. Can't really afford to do that too easily. So.
No, and one of my tricks with the Aspect of the Sea is to teleport him and turn him into a monster. Because you can't teleport monsters, but you can steed the tides. then cast
And then-
Metamorphosis.
Yeah.
Then if you're next to a tree or faction train, you could just destroy it with Monstrous
nice.
Rampage.
Yeah, just give it
So
a-
like when I played Brad, I put him 9 away from his army, and I thought, well, if I make a charge, I can then just kick the tree over and remove
Yeah.
it. And also you stop it being a summoning point because they can't put anything around the tree because you're stood on it. So it's like, well, you can't fit anything within 7 and 9 away. So
yeah.
it was also quite, when I played the Gloomspite player, I kept trying to kick his shrine over with the aspect to see after he teleported, but I failed my charge, unfortunately, with a reroll. That would have been amazing. Gone in, kicked this shrine over, kicked all the squigs out of it. It would have been great. Turn 1 play. I was like, this is going to be fun if this comes off. I started playing for these like really quirky, like against the odd situations, like all or nothing plays, and it was quite fun. Which, you know, added a lot to the list, I think. But anyway, so I think what we're going to do is we're going to run through our games sort of overview. I've got some photos, not loads, but a few. And just talk about like how our games went, and then talk about the event overall and who finished where and things like that. So it's gonna be a bit of a kind of relaxed, chatty show, talking about tactics and things. So hopefully it's you guys will enjoy it. So let's start off then. So it was in the Holiday Inn. It was a nice venue, very spacious, which is always good.
Great venue, super central.
Yeah,
good parking, like food options.
Yeah, and you could always opt to stay in the hotel if you wanted to remortgage your house. We stayed a bit further out in a cheapy lodge, but there you go, it was fine. So game 1, we were playing the team, I get this wrong now, it's GP, which is the team B of the people that go to Justplay. So they were that's how the guy that I played described it, as they're the ones that aren't as keen, basically, is how he described it. So I sort of think that's like a team B. And I ended up playing Kragnos, Trolls, Gloomspite, Gits. Now, I haven't played Gits for donkey's years. And this was in the, I always get the name wrong. It's either Power in Numbers or whatever, where you have to control the objective for 2 turns to score points.
But then it takes up higher.
No, it's just like you have to hold them for 2, basically. And he had Kragnos, which for me is a bit of a no-no, because he's very hard for me to kill because I don't have mortal wounds. So basically I have to either put the turtle in and get lucky on the 6s, or somehow he hasn't got shooting. He's run out of best day ever, or he didn't put it on, he hasn't got Mystic Shield on, and you just shoot him and hope you get stuff through and do a load of damage. So you're waiting for that turn when he hasn't got a buff to then go, because obviously all out defense as well. So you kind of got to, the other thing you can do is dupe your opponent by saying, I'll do kill a battle line, start shooting a battle line with like a one single shark. They immediately all out defense, then you just pivot and shit everything into Kragnos and fail your battle tactic and just go, well, I've actually killed Kragnos. But yeah, because basically you've got to, he's like the linchpin. I hadn't really played against Gloomspite Gits since the White Dwarf update or in AS3, so I didn't really know what any of it did. He had the Dobby, the helper troll, which seems to be in every Gloomspite army, good +1 hit, which I don't begrudge people taking it because I would have it. So super interesting game. So I basically, I had 1 drop, so I had choice. So I made him go first. So he kind of like blobbed forward a bit, cast his Mystic Shield with his Shaman, because I think he had a fungoid behind the shrine, basically. Which the shrine's really good, actually, because not only is it garrisonable and defensible, so you can put stuff in it, and they're -1 to hit. So we put 6 fell water Trogoths in it. So they're -1 to hit, and they're +1 armor save. Plus it makes you immune to battle shock. Plus you can recycle units from it. So it's like, it's key. If you can get into it and kick it over.
High stuff behind it.
And it blocks line of sight because you can put a model behind it. So it's like, it's really good. And he had a really nice one. He put like these like Nightmare Before Christmas extra tree bits on it. It would look really cool, actually. You can see it in the picture if I zoom in, but I'll do it in a sec. So my first turn, so because I always flip the tides, I always high tide in turn 2. What I generally do is sit quite far back, garrison the boat, and use the boat as like a bunker, giving me a ward save and all my thralls. And then they go first. And then what I do is I just push forward as far as I can go, try and do the run through unit to get a grand strategy with the 2 heroes and 1 Thrall unit, because as long as I measure and make sure that 10 inches from the hero to the back of the Thralls, they can't fail it, because they remove 6, 7, 3 inches. So as long as there's like it's under 10, even if I roll 1 on the run on the hero, they're going to be in. And that sets me up then that if they want to charge me in my go, if they win the turn, that I'm in high tide, so I strike first. So most people just don't charge you, so they waste a turn, and then you just go in. But if you get the turn, you just go in, and it's basically
as a result of that.
Yeah, you just get more value. So especially when you play combat, it's quite funny. So anyway, so I teleported the aspect to the sea here, and this was the start of him redeeming himself, where basically he he went through this like amazing period of going, actually, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to crack into, if he had Moloch, the troll there, which is the underworld's guy who can bounce wounds, and I rolled a 6 on the Kraken Tooth and just killed him. So that was immediately its value straight in.
Feels like a bargain there, right?
Yeah, and what this meant as well is that I put the aspect to sea on the back of his objective. I tried to turn him into I thought, well, if I teleport there, and I could do some mortals and stuff. So he's like, I don't know if I can. He has to kind of deal with him. So he either sends the trolls backwards to deal with me, or he ignores me. If he ignores me, I'm not very far away from his shrine with a turn into a monster and a run and a kick if I want to do it, or I can just sit on that objective and take it. And if he moves off the objective, I immediately take it in his go, which then allows me to basically score that objective. So he's kind of like, oh, what do I do? Do I go to him? Because he probably won't kill me with the trolls if he charged me, especially in high tide, because he probably thinks I get to go first. I mean, the aspect to the sea is awful in combat, but then I just poked a couple of wounds on the trolls with my shoot attack. So that was kind of my turn, and then from that, it was I did have some really bad rolls in the first turn, as you can see from the corner there. The 1 1 1 1 1 2 2 3. That was my wound roll from my turtle after doing all that attack on it shooting, which is great. So he basically went into me, but it was into my Thrall wall in high tide, and put the guys out, and then charged me. And yeah, so basically he charged his whole army into mine, and he got a big charge here into my Reavers, so it didn't shot, killed half his troll unit. And then basically, like, he dealt a lot of my Thralls, so I did some damage back to him, because I don't really have enough damage output to kill his units with just the Thralls. I lost my Thralls, but I pinned Kragnos because he didn't kill. What he wanted to do was kill this Thrall here, and then pile in Kragnos into my back lines and try and kill my turtle. But I all out defense this unit, and because he didn't charge the other trolls there, he charged them into my back line. He didn't have enough combat output with this slog off to actually kill them, so he survived with 1 model, and I was like, cool. And then the other unit survived anyway, and then I've obviously got more fan to bring them back. But Kragnos had to kill both units with his attacks, so he basically then killed all my Thralls. But then he's facing my whole army in high tide, and it's about to get on. And I had quite a lucky magic turn where I teleported my idol on, because I thought, well, I can teleport next to the shrine, and I can his shaman kind of ran around the side, and I could get my stick in range to kill him with my shooting. And what I did is I cast Tsunami of Terror on Kragnos after he didn't have Besto on, didn't have Mystic Shield on, and I managed to get -3 armor save on him. So in combat, so that was it. 3 sharks and both heroes went into Kragnos and killed him in combat, and that was basically the game. Because Kragnos was dead, all the trolls were dead with the shooting. The turtle was killed the other unit of trolls. So basically, at the end of that turn, he didn't have any models left. So that was at the bottom of 2. So yeah, that was basically game over then. So it was a big win.
Wondering about that. That got FAQ'd, right? The Tsunami of Terror.
Yeah. So it kind of, the way it was worded was always sort of, if you read it raw, that's what it said. I actually do have the FAQ. Let me just get it up for you.
Essentially, it's been FAQ'd that target can be the same thing for -1, -1, -1, which is powerful.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a couple things in the Idoneth FAQ. Let me just pull it up for you. So, the Tsunami of Terror, can I pick the same unit multiple times? Yes. So that was the FAQ for that. If I have multiple Achillean Kings, so basically it says you can use the High Tide ability once no matter how many you've got, which was obvious because it says any, it's got the word any. And it says how many scenery pieces can I set up with the Rune of Surging Gloom Tide? You must set up 2 pieces either touching or more than 3 from each other. So you can set up, actually when you use the artifact, you can put 2 halves or you can put a whole, which is pretty cool. And then they changed the Domhain rule to work a bit more like the Iron Jaws command, where basically you can charge with the normal if you go first, but if you go second, you do redeploy, and you can do it up to 3 times for 1 command point off the same guy. So you can basically redeploy 3 units that have got that. They gave the totem keyword to the Aspect of the Sea because it was missing, but it's on the other one. They gave the Deep Mare keyword to Volturnus because that was missing. They added the Achillean King keyword Deep Mare because that was missing. And then Lotan, they changed. Basically, they said that once per battle, start of your hero phase, pick a ritual and 1 friendly Deepkin unit holding within 12 until the next hero phase is affected by the ritual in addition to any of its affected, even if the Tides of Death ability required does not apply. So it doesn't give you the tide effect, but it means if you've got like 5 up ward on the Marty in high tide, for example, and it's not high tide, you can use that and that gives you a 5 up ward until your next hero phase. It's really good double turn protection if you run a big unit of Thralls, which is actually what I was looking at doing, because I think that a big unit of Thralls with Lotan gives you, and a King, means you can be high tide on a turn you charge outside of high tide. You can, in high tide, you get a ward and you're strong first, and then Lotan can give you a 2-turn protection of a ward if you're facing a double back. So it gives you that. If you've got a big Thrall blob, it makes that blob really strong. And he's also got an AoE wound buff anyway. So, but yeah, besides the point. Sidetrack. But yeah, I just did mean to mention that. So thanks for bringing that up because I forgot. So that was my game 1. Yeah, super. I mean, it's one of those sort of games that's over very quickly and was very swingy. But I wasn't really confident going against Kragnos because if I can't kill him, he basically could rip through my army and kill everything. And I think I got a bit lucky to take him out, and then that was a big 20-0 for me. So that was good. And we don't really have any photos of your game 1, do we? But what did you play?
Don't approve daughters. So that's not the reason I didn't take any. They can absolutely get in the bin though. So I was playing Marathi Daughters with, what's the little warband that's insanely good?
Oh, Morgreth's Blade Coven, or whatever it is.
Yeah, or like the Shadow something.
Oh, you mean the Warcry one, the Shadow Stalkers, K-Knight Shadow Stalkers.
So it was 2 units of those and then standard snake crap. In the diagonal scenario with 3 objectives where heroes score. So, and he's 1 drop and I'm 10 drop. So hard.
Well, if it's just heroes, then yeah, that's an awful mission for you.
Yes, this is the beginning of me taking matchups of the team, which is Nurgle's duty, really. So that's what I expected, and I'm absolutely fine with it. That was knackered though. So Dylan took first, kind of lobbed forwards and established. I left my Lord of Afflictions off the table, which is potentially a wrong decision because he can't score the turn he comes down unless he makes a charge. But given that my opponent was 1 drop and was just going to get in front of me and all over the table anyway with his crazy fast army with indestructible characters, I didn't think it mattered. I was always just going to try and do my best and be patient in this one because I don't have any other option really. So he bobbed forwards, did a colossal amount of damage, like a really, really good amount of damage with the snakes. Pappy was just target numero uno and got killed real fast, actually, I think. As a result, Pappy's down. I've not got many characters left, and all I can do is kind of try my absolute best to summon some characters in decent places, make some charges, which I didn't, and then blob around him and converge. The one thing that he didn't do is, in that scenario, given that it's only heroes that matter, I would just put everything in, because Nurgle's slow and it's not too flexible, just put everything in front of and around the Marathis, because I don't have enough shooting. My shooting's range 7.
Yeah.
So I've got no way to reach out and touch anything, really. So I think he should have bubble wrapped himself a bit more, use 6 on run and stuff like that. The army's crazy fast anyway.
You get to reroll once to run as well, and charge. Why not?
Wonderful. I mean, at least you've only got it from first turn. So, yeah. Anyway, he went forwards. He was definitely like fairly up, especially with Pappy going down. Always feels hard, and he's just target priority number 1. If someone's got a lot of decent damage, they're just looking at him and putting everything into him. I brought my drones down on one of the objectives, didn't make the charge in, so wasn't scoring it. He had a Melusai kind of running over to there. And then the stodge began. So I dropped Vile Piper, stopped him from piling in, had things, like poking things, just about touching stuff. Plague Bearer's got a very long charge off kind of towards the right-hand side of the table where that objective was that I hadn't managed to capture. And things just started being close to other things, so he couldn't pile in. And so he had to shoot the stuff that he was next to. I then had a kind of a crazy couple of turns where the mortals just went through, basically, and I made some saves. He didn't roll particularly well on Marathi's attacks. The Plague Bearers survived really nicely, continued tagging things in, and the drones just did what drones can do. I got the no pile in Turn on the Wheel, which is my favorite one available, actually, as long as it's mid-game and stuff's hectic. And as a result, you can use the Sloppity with damage rather than restricting people's abilities to pile in. So that turn, I got a shed load of damage through, like tons. The drones did a load. All of the drones were shooting at snakes at that point, because I was managing to get the 3 that I can on Marathi from other sources, in combat with a couple of mortals going through and stuff like that. Or a beast just charged baby Marathi. Did quite well on impact hits, for example. That stuff adds up. So all of my fire was concentrated on the snakes, and they just disintegrated. Like, I really wasn't expecting it. Like, they absolutely just...
They're not very resilient if you get to them.
No.
That's the problem, is getting to them.
Yeah, exactly. And the Shadow Stalky ones, like, they were kind of... They're annoying. They stick around for longer than you think they would, but I'm Nurgle, so not too worried about their damage output. The single beasts in this game were probably the MVPs. They just lasted longer than they should, were annoying, fled out, came back, did the Okikoki, and I ended up got to a point where Marathi died, and we looked at the table, there was nothing there. He was way ahead on points, but massing it out because he didn't have anything left, and couldn't get his strategies, I could get all of mine and cap, and with being able to summon heroes and pop, the bagpipes man here and the other man here, I actually managed to sneak a win through.
Oh, nice. Good play. Yeah. I mean, like, it's a tough scenario where Marathi can control the objectives and you can't kill her, basically. So good job
on the bow snakes as well are just great.
Yeah. It's like shooting you like twice a turn. It's not fun.
This is the beginning of that epic of my Great Unclean One doing
absolutely
not
nothing.
Much. He did some spells, but yeah.
Mine was at MVP when I played with him, because it would be like blob up, turn like 1, 2, and then turn 3 is just YOLOing into stuff like belly flopping things.
The terrain in this one, man, because there was so much impossible. Like, I end up in a situation where, like, I was behind my guys, and I couldn't really get round unless you make your Plague Bearers like 3 wide or something,
Yeah, I mean, it made a difference because a lot of the times my Plague Bearers were like bridged away from my Great and Clean One, and then he was kind of like on his own but in space near them, but not right behind. So he's like kind of like here and they're here. Sort of like the quarterback swinging out of the pocket, going on for a bootleg play.
I was running next to them, but I was against such aggressive armies that things could have taken him out in a one.
That's the issue. But sometimes, like, he's really good at just being like, he's actually like quite resilient, and then you can always best day. Any sort of people go, oh yeah, I take the Grand King, your best day, and it's like all out defense.
If you deny that strategy, it always feels amazing.
He can like belly flop them as well. Like when they come in and do mortals, he can puke on them as they come in, which is really underrated.
That's shooting in the army.
Yeah. So I don't know. Sometimes I like to use him like that. It's just like aggressive. And then like what I normally do is I try and get disease stacked, then he just moves into the area where they are to do the wither stave. So he adds a lot, I think. But he's a tricky piece to use. He's very slow, so it's like you don't always get. Sometimes his value is just that he's around, you know. And he also, because you need monsters to do things like bonus points and monstrous takeover, he just adds there. So
I think I didn't get one of those this weekend.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So that was game one. We ended up winning that round. So
yeah,
it was good. So game two, we played the Mighty Destroyers, which is team main. So yeah, and I ended up playing against Flesh Eater Courts, against James, and this was the mission, you know, where you can like burn objectives, and however long you've held it for is how many points you get, which is one I hate because I always get the maths wrong, and I end up like can almost like lose the mission by burning at the wrong time, and then you just forget, and I don't really like it.
Big brain, like you need a spreadsheet next to you.
Yeah, it doesn't really suit me. I don't really like it. So you can, you know, it was fine, and he had Gristle Gore, two Terrorgeist not mounted, Ghoul King on Terrorgeist, a Boront Ghoul King on Throne, 2 units of 3 Flayers, 2 units of 20 Ghouls. So, and this was Battle Line Trump on this one, I think, as well. So I was thinking, he could be quite aggressive here, run the 2 Terrorgeist over, you know, turn 2, and then burn my objectives. So I had to be quite careful. So I gave him the first turn, obviously, because that's what I do. And he didn't summon anything, which I thought was really weird. Because
you can kill the things that could do the summoning.
Yeah. So I thought, well, if I just kill his Archregent, he's just like lost
down 20 ghouls.
Like, yeah,
which are really important.
So I was thinking, and it turns out my turn 1 was utter dreadful, and I literally did nothing with my shooting, despite shooting at him with everything. I did a couple chip wounds, nothing really. Obviously, he heals 3 anyway, so like not killing him is kind of a big deal because he just back to full. He was actually like a real pain in my backside trying to get rid of him. I haven't got many pictures of this game, but basically, I think that all we've got is deployment. So essentially, what happened was he kind of blobbed around, and then I did my usual. So I was like, well, actually, I'll run the thralls up here, drop the guys out here, run these 3 units for my grand strategy. So that's my grand strategy done. Shark sort of over here. There's a single shark over here, so he kind of come over here, which is in range of. I stayed outside of 26 of the general, so he can't charge me because he's got double pile in, so you can kill 1 pile in. I also just wanted to chip shooting off on the front Terrorgeist. They've also got a Scream, but because I've got an Eidolon, he makes my army Bravery 10, so he just jumped in the middle and gave me this Bravery 10 aura, which effectively neutered his Screams. And then the idea of the Shark being here was to stop this side of the board being accessible. I did leave, he wasn't within range of my Eidolon, so he did put 3 Flayers on here in his turn 2 to try and kill them, but the Scream doesn't really do that much damage when you're at -2 from Flayers. It's like 2d6 -2, and you've got to beat 7. You got to roll 10s, 11s, and 12s. I think he did 2 mortals, so it's like it's not a big deal. Failed the charge, which I was fine with. And my turn 2 was kind of big because he burnt one of his objectives in turn 2, which I thought was really weird.
Tried to shrink the board, I guess, so you didn't have to think about one of them.
Yeah. And turn 2 was high tide for me. So basically it was like, well, he's not charging me. and I was out of range really, so he didn't really have the opportunity to. And then I just basically pushed my whole army forward, and I shot off the. I teleported the Eidolon just moved actually, and then he was within 12 of his general, so I just basically shot his general with the Kraken Tooth, rolled a 6, and did 2d6 mortals, did 10 mortal wounds to him.
Oh dear!
And then shot him and killed him. Charged his army. I charged the ghoul screen with like a Thrall unit, the sharks, the turtle, the Eidolon. Killed the ghoul screen, piled in past it, and then killed the flayers and the archregent. And I killed the other terrorgeists with it, with shooting. So he lost basically like all his terrorgeists on turn 1, 2, and basically most of his army. So he basically only, and the other shot went into the ghoul. So he basically didn't have much of an army left. And that was basically game. So because he didn't have much left, and I won the double 2-3, which is then like
nice relaxing game for you.
Yeah, but you still got to be a bit careful, because if you left it open and he's able to get into you with multiple activations, with the bites, the mortal wounds,
yeah.
it's pretty bad. Now, he didn't necessarily play badly because he did the right thing on turn 2, not coming at me. And then I just basically just YOLO'd in, got some charges, and because I played an aggressive turn 1 where I push up, it gives me a position then to push the game if he doesn't engage me. Yeah, and then it was just pretty academic there when I double turned him 2-3, so that was basically game over. Then I burnt a lot of the objectives and was already up, and then it was just battle tactics, but he didn't really have any models left at that point, so yeah. So it was quite a quick game in comparison to your game.
I have the nice game,
which I think was would have been like pulling teeth, this game, I think. But
oh man, so this is a great game, great opponent. But OBR and Nurgle, I have a suggestion if people doing practice games. Unless you think something's actually gonna, get wiped out or die, just do the entire game, but don't roll any of the combat. Like, literally just don't roll any of it. If it's infantry on infantry, especially, just not worth doing. So I don't know which picture you're showing or whatever, but
I've got the one where your drones look like they're coming at the back of his army, which looks like it's your turn 1, and after his turn, or maybe it's turn 2, he's kind of moved forward a bit, but not moved that far forward. And
after his turn 1,
you've got some beasts further forward, but your main block's still back.
I dropped my turn 1, which I wouldn't normally do or didn't normally do. It was the same scenario that you were playing, so horrible math was going to get involved. Yeah, just grim. And I don't know how to describe this one. It was really... we didn't have to roll the bloody dice for the combat, just like again, and the saves and things coming back. It would have been like a perfect, awesome, super tactical game, but essentially, to give a compact version, I stopped him from piling in. That was kind of helpful for me surviving, but I was tough and he was tough, so no one was doing much anyway. He kept on picking my Lord of Afflictions and putting something on him from the scenery piece where he can't. What is it? He's like half move or can't.
Yeah.
One dice charge.
Yeah, one dice charge. Yeah.
Oh, it slowed him down so much. So
it's annoying. A shame that you're not a monster that you could have kicked the Nexus over, but yeah. Because you kind of, it looks like you got the charge on Arkham with 3 drones, but then he retreated out.
Yeah, he did. He teleported out.
Protection of the Gash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got a load of damage on him. Like, I think I got him down to 4 wounds remaining.
Yeah, he looks like he's got 8 taken, so...
Yeah. Oh, yeah, something like that. 4 or 3. And then he just zapped over and did what Arkan does, which is to come back to life.
But they heal so well, doesn't he? So
wounds back to life, yeah. I killed his 4 Cavalos over on one flank. And I killed... This is the course of the game I'm talking about here, by the way. 10 more Tech Guard. So I killed 15 things. And he net, because he killed 3 drones, which I brought back, he net killed at Plague Bearer from me.
Super exciting.
Yeah, stuff wouldn't die.
And I guess, did you burn one of his objectives And then he removed one of yours because the turn roll. Is that how that worked?
I think so, yeah.
Because I've got a picture where there's only 4 on the table, so I didn't know if that was...
Yeah, we ended up playing over these two.
Yeah.
Basically didn't exist. What I wanted to do is I didn't think he could get at mine, as long as I made sure that, I didn't think Arcan could kill a beast on his own. It could happen, but it was unlikely to if it was on...
Not unless he puts 3 arcane bolts on him and then goes in, basically.
So I just had to guard mine, and my plan was to sit on them so they'd be worth the absolute maximum possible. So I was patient with them. I had a real debate whether I burnt mine or not. And then there was one situation where, because I locked him from piling in, I could get a beast next to Arcan on his battle line.
I could see that. Yeah.
So that was really pivotal. So I got it that turn. That made a big difference. He didn't get it his turn. Because beasts do what beasts do, which is surviving, and that kind of put me ahead a little bit.
Did you burn that one?
I can't remember actually.
Because obviously, when you cap it, you don't score anything until you burn it, do you?
No.
So because it looks like he's got no battle line there. So.
Oh no, I kept it for a turn because it wasn't worth anything if you had it for one.
It's worth one, I think, if you burn it. You take it when you've taken it.
Because of where he was and how pinned he was, unless his magic went crazy and his shooting, his shooting couldn't really do anything against me because things were locked in combat. We had a pivotal turn where I got my first priority and I could burn one of mine for 4, one of mine for 4, one of his for 2, and then just like a massive point swing. And essentially, even if he maxed out on his, then it didn't matter because there wasn't anything left on the board for him to score.
Yeah, because he can only get 8, right? And then that's max. And so you've already got 10, and I guess you would have got 2 or 1 on the first over that one, and that was probably removed from the turn roll. So yeah, that makes sense.
The big thing was the kind of the turn strategy denial and me getting it. I don't think I dropped 1, and I denied him a couple of times. So
when he's pinned back like that, he's not really got anything to do it. You can't get in the territory. You can't whereas you could first turn go I'll do 2 units in your territory, drop your 3, you do fix 2 drones in the back and score 1.
My summoning was working. Yeah, my summoning was working really well as well. I didn't have to use it on much. I brought back some drones, turn 3.
I'm really surprised that the unit of Mortec away from the Harvester being fought by 3 drones, if you did mortal wounds on the wound roll with the shooting to see if they didn't die really easily.
Oh, dude,
really surprised about that.
So was I. It's horrible. They just would not die. I had the turn of you can't pile in, so you can use Sloppity for damage as well. Still nothing. But it was just super grindy. It was a really good, fun tactical game, but I wish I hadn't have to roll quite so many dice. It just made it take forever. Both our armies are indestructible.
Yeah, it's kind of like you just roll loads of dice, nothing happens.
Really mattered where you put your dudes, who you pin, how, where you flee. I gave away priorities when I could because I didn't. Yeah, it felt fine too, which is one of the strengths of the army, really. So I kind of just slugged that one out basically. No one else wanted to, or quite a few other people didn't want to play it, especially in that battle line Trump scenario.
Yeah. I mean, I would have been fine against OBR. I know how it does, and Arcan's dead turn 1 basically. So.
Yeah.
And you shoot him, shoot the Harvester, then you go in on high tide and just delete all the Mortec, and it's all game over. So, yeah.
You with your agile movement.
Because you do even do the key thing when you go in with the hero, and at the end you just drag one of the Mortec away and break their coherency and watch half the unit die, which is even funnier.
So good, yeah.
So, just got to be careful on that casualty removal. So, I haven't quite got to use that in its effect yet. He did kill a troll by dragging it off to the depths with it in the first game, which was fun. I do like him a lot, the Soul Render. He's kind of I like him. He doesn't really do a lot, but he's cool. So that was round 2. So you won that game, I assume, by yeah. Was it a big win? Was it 17 or something? Or
I think something like that. It ended up in my favor with the strategies and stuff like that.
Because the way the scoring worked is you had margin of victory, so how many big that differential would be how many points you got. So I think you needed a difference of 17 to get 20 between your score and their score on a mission. It depends. A couple of scenarios are different, but basically it's the same. So if you beat them by like 12, it's like a 17-3. If you beat them, so it's like, it depends on the point differential. So, yeah, quite interesting. And then we went into like round 3 playing Team Wales. So, I got what I would describe as probably my worst matchup of the weekend out of the list I played, which was against a, to spoilers, Slave to Darkness Demon Prince heavy army with Be'lakor, which is the against Simon, the captain, on a board with lots of terrain. So all these big ruins are blocks, line of sight, wildwoods, but not wildwoods, and there's impassable. And for people who don't know, he's got a rule called pitch black. So if a Demon Prince finishes a move within a range of a thing, you could just, within 6, I think it is, you just basically make it block line of sight unless you draw it across an inch of it. So basically he was very hard to shoot if he didn't, and he had lots of iron golems, basically. Unit of Furies, 3 Khorne Demon Princes, some at half charges as well. And this game essentially like came down to a couple of key moments. So I made him go first because I'm a 1-drop, so just so you go. And then I basically had a turn where I had to shoot off a unit of iron golems, and he had 1 left, and he survived because he made I think he had like 5 rend 1 saves to make, and he made all of them. Which then, and it was from the turtle, which would have gave me a bonus point because it's a monster.
Big swing.
So it's like 3 points I was denied. And then this is the Star Strike mission. So this was the turn where I moved and tried to, because his Demon Prince here, this 18-inch bubble basically just meant I couldn't charge, and the Iron Golem was left alive here, and he just ran it behind this building, and then he double turned me back. Because he gave me the double turn. I didn't really want it. If I won the turn, I would give it to him.
Yeah.
And then he's basically just spent a long time. The objective was here. I couldn't really get it off because he basically killed the 2 sharks there, which I knew was going to happen. But I thought if I got the turn, I could at least survive a turn and then get away and get out of there. It was kind of like the worst place for that objective to drop for me. If it dropped like here or here, like I would have been fine. But it's just too far. It's just really pain. And then so that happened. Then he charged in my army, killed a load of thralls, and lots of dice were rolled. But end of the day, it's like it took a while, but nothing really died. He killed some thralls, gunned me up, pinned stuff, and I was like, cool. It was in high tide on turn 2, which he didn't really engage me in 2, and then in 3 he went in. And then I don't know whether I should have. The problem is because he's got always strike first on the Demon Princes, like high tide doesn't really make a difference because he's alternate activation in high tide, and out of high tide he goes first for all of them, so it's really bad for my army. Plus the line of sight stuff, so it's kind of like the worst of all situations, this matchup. So, but it came down to then later on, we didn't like get all the game done. But there was a turn where I haven't got a picture because I think it was running out of time, so I just wasn't there. But Be'lakor essentially was here. A unit of Iron Golems here. The turtle went in. The hero went in. The hero killed them. The turtle piled in and killed Be'lakor. But then he realised this is mystical and made the saves and was like, oh, he's got 1 wound left. The objectives were here and here. So there's there and there. I should excuse all the drawings there. But so basically, like with the objective here and here, and Be'lakor basically dying here in my go, I wasn't able to run the turtle here and claim this objective and do monstrous takeover, which then would have gave me, because it's the battle round, so that would give me 4 plus 3 points, plus 2 points, sorry, for the objective. And then my Eidolon was here, and I thought in turn 5 I could then run the turtle here and the Eidolon here for 2, cast the monster spell and get 3 for having 2 in his territory, claim this objective and this objective, that's 10 plus the 3, that's 13. So I still think there was enough game. We didn't play 5. We barely played 4. But there was enough game there for me that I thought I could have brought it back, but that we couldn't really work it out and we were out of time. And I was like, well, so it was a 12-8 to Simon. We'd lost the round at that point and we were late for our restaurant. So I was like, well, it doesn't matter. That's fine. But anyway, it was nice to play Simon because we've not played before, but I would have liked to have a conclusion to the game. He did seem very he did think it was a good, I think he enjoyed the tactical nature of it because it was a very close, tight game with lots of interesting things, but I just wish it was 5 turns, not 3. So, Anyway, you played Deepkin, so.
I did. So I got my Breath of Fresh Air game for the entire event, which didn't involve me logging it out. We had a load of, I was playing Dan, who's an excellent player, really thought a lot of him actually.
Yeah, he's super nice bloke. I mean, I met him and Greg or Shelty, who watches the channel. I think it was at a Warhammer World event, and I played Greg, and then they were both at a Swindon Firestorm event. So, but I played Greg with his Flesh Eaters, and he beat me in that game with some good play. And I was like, oh, these guys know what they're doing. So it was good to see him there.
Oh, he definitely knew what he was doing. Really clean on the table and the agenda as well. So just nice to get to play him the first time, really. Obviously knows a lot about the Fishmen, given that seems to be all that he's played with, or largely what he's played with. Anyway, it was the Long Ways deployment one, and to start off, I had this down as a better matchup than it evidently was the moment I looked at it and thought about it properly, engaged turn 1. Because with this amount of distance on the table, I might be Nurgle, I might be resilient, and it might be about, the objective finishing in the middle of the table.
Just the vice, right?
He could just pick one thing and make it dead. Doesn't matter how tanky, unless it's maybe the Great Unclean one, my best aid. He's got so much shooting, and he doesn't have to worry about my army because I'm so slow, and he's got enough things, being like little crappy characters and stuff like that. I can't drop behind him, I have to drop in front of him. So he did a really good job of covering the board, and I just had to trudge towards him. But if I put any one thing forwards, he could just make it dead, being the Plague Bearers, which were the linchpin in this one. And he's got so much flexible shooting, you just be like, all right, I'll shoot that beast until it's dead and that beast until it's dead. And then if firing gets double, he still can't reach me because my army's so fast and has such long range. So
because he had 4 units of 2 sharks, A for wings, low tan, 2 kings, and it's a 1-drop.
Yeah.
So,
it's a good army.
Yeah.
I had the matchup down as wrong, and particularly in this scenario, it wasn't particularly good for me. He played it absolutely spot on, really well. There was one thing where I summoned a dummy. I summoned Slopty that really wasn't going to matter, and he put all the shooting into that after I'd looked. It had Lookout Sir and stuff, which absorbed a load of damage. He could have done that elsewhere onto things that actually mattered a bit more. That's the only mistake he made. Otherwise, it was completely perfect. I didn't have fantastic luck with making charges, surviving against stand and shoots, and I just missed a couple of strategies as a result. I didn't get people into his side of the table when I picked it, and I made one key mistake, which was he'd engaged my Plague Bearers on a corner with 2 sharks. They were just going to get kind of ground out. Epidemus was there, and they were going to get poisoned to death. I could have been piling in towards the center objective and got 6 inches closer to it. That would have really given me a load of options in the game, tons of options in the game. And it's just a silly mistake. When you're playing a good player with a good army in a scenario that it turns out isn't in your favor and he's not making mistakes, you get punished for yours, especially with movement. You can put something in the wrong place and then it survive with Nurgle, but you have to be in the right place with the horribly slow dudes. And I wasn't, so I ended up getting absolutely smashed in that one. But it was genuinely it was a really interesting game. Quite a lot of turns where you did a few things and they mattered, quite standoffish, and it really nice to get to play him. But I got absolutely mullered in it.
Yeah, I mean it's I think because of the mobility and the depth of the board and 24-inch range, you're never getting to him. And then by the time it's turn 3, it's high tide. Then turn 4, he's retreating and charging and shooting. So even if you have pinned him, he's getting out and goes where he wants.
In retrospect, a harder one than I thought it was. Made me think I wanted 30 Plague Bearers rather than 20, because then I could just delay them forwards. I also I didn't get off Fleshy Abundance and Shield, despite the fact that he didn't have a wizard. Once I got one or the other.
Yeah,
I got off
Master
both of
Magic
theirs.
missing. Yeah.
With rerolls, I used Epidemius rerolls on them, so I didn't need them on other things particularly.
Oh, I suppose with Epidemus, you do get a sort of Gesso Master Magic, right?
Yeah, you do, but both is way better because you just yellow the Master Magic on whatever is the first thing that fails, and it's fine. And if the next one's really important too, then you just take one dice out of your 7 pool and use that. But without both them off on the unit, it's just so much more squishy, either having 1 less save or 20 less wounds. So
yeah. Interesting. Yeah, we lost quite badly in that round.
We got bored as a team, didn't we?
Yeah.
They played really well and were really nice. So
yeah,
play to them.
And then we went into day 2, playing Team JP, which has got some super solid players in that team. Like like
very good lists as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like they were doing really well. Sort of them and Wales were the 2 teams basically jostling for position. And it looks to me like I ended up actually playing Brad with Nurgle, which was quite cool because I know you play him often, and we chatted a bit. And he's a nice guy, and like it was nice to play. But obviously, like I know he hadn't been playing Nurgle very long, and there was a lot of rules that, to try and remember. But
you probably knew all of them, right? Because
most of them, I've been misplaying myself like we were talking about earlier, like the Holy Within. So I've been playing that as Holy Within because I just thought it was, and actually it's Within.
There's a lot of things in the book where you assume something because of its previous edition.
Well, just because the way Warhammer works, right? Like most, right? But like Fleshy Abundance, I'm just assuming that's Holy Within 14, but it's within 14. Which actually allows you to be quite far away from the plague bearers and still hit them. So that was because if you look at the setup, this distance from here to here is more than 14. And I was like, well, they're not in range, so you can't abundance them. And actually, what came apparent in the game, which I didn't even twig, is I should have just let it go off because they end up with 3 wounds. Then my thralls do 2 damage rather than 1. Didn't get any bonuses because they got 2 wounds. So like,
okay, cool, yeah. Learning.
But then I'm thinking maybe it doesn't because is it the wounds characteristic or because their characteristic is 2 and they get +1 wound? So do they get a bonus? I don't know. So I think it depends on the wording. Let's have a quick look because I was interested. It's in the middle of the game. I thought about it. I mean, I unbound it because I just thought I don't want them having extra wounds, but I don't know if it should have done it.
When you search for it, I can tell you a thing that I only realised about my army that's really important. These can run and charge. I thought they could only retreat and charge. Yeah, you didn't know that?
No. Really? Oh my god. Yeah, that's their main thing. Like, that's why I thought like you'd be able to get to them and So run and charge and they do mortals, and then they retreat and then they can charge. It's like their whole thing.
Retreat. I didn't need the run bit.
That's like one of the main reasons to take them.
I know, right? So my army just got better.
I can't believe you didn't play that. Did you not play that all weekend?
All 2 weekends.
I'm actually quite shocked. That's crazy. Because I was looking at that picture of the shark game, and there's 2 beasts behind a wall, and I think you could run and charge around the corner there and get those.
Right? We're gonna help.
I'm sorry. So it says add 1 to the wounds characteristic, and then the thralls.
That'll do it then.
Well, yeah, I think. Let me just have a quick look. It's an interesting one. I'm pretty sure it does work, but I was curious because I didn't realise until I was in the turn fighting the plague bearers going, why did I unbind that? Wound characteristic 1, wound characteristic of 3. So yeah, it would do because they get +1 to their wounds characteristic of 2 goes to 3. So yeah, I would get 2 damage. So I should have not unbound that anyway. Oh, well. So I set up. This was the same mission with the hold it for 2 turns battle line trump. So I was like, he's got like 7 or 8 beasts and like the Great and Clean One and Plague Bearer. So I was thinking, oh my god, this is going to be tough. Lord of Afflictions and a single drone, whatever called Pascal Blight Lord. So he dropped. So I let him go first. He sort of pushed. I didn't actually flip the tide. So I thought his army's quite slow. and I don't think he's going to YOLO it up the table at me. And what I can do is I can kind of melt to the way to the board edge. So because of where I am, that I've deployed in my usual boat formation, which is my favorite thing to do. I thought I could run here, run the two characters here, get a battle tactic, move the turtle here, move this shark to this corner, which you can't see, and these two sharks to this corner, and move the Eidolon backwards. And he's literally got no charges at all, nothing. And then if he doesn't push the game, then I'm then like forward. It's a bit risky, but because he has to hold both objectives for 2 turns to score, I thought, well, if he does go that far forward, I can then just welly him and take them all out, basically.
Yeah.
What I was worried about is him just rushing all the beasts at me, because if they charge and they do mortals, then they're quite hard to get rid of. And I had a really bad turn 1 shooting phase, so I thought I think it'll work. And then what he did is he put his Puscoil, Lord of Afflictions and Puscoil here at the side, and he charged my 2 sharks. And then the Eidolon had to go in and help them out, basically. And then I had no piling on turn 2 as well. So I was like, well, I really don't want that to be the high tide turn. So that's why I didn't flip. And I thought, I can't be fighting at that turn. I need to wait. He did summon a Sloppity on turn 1, which again, I think was a mistake, because he's not doing anything on that turn. Just do it later. You don't need to drop in.
I think people are too obsessed with him.
So they're like, oh, I've got 7, I can drop him down now. It's like, yeah, but I can shoot him. So I shot him off, did some other shooting, but because the healing, it didn't really do much. I had a bad turn. And then he blobbed into the middle, and then my turn 3, because he went turn 2 forward a bit, but he still kept the beast really far back. I teleported the Eidolon at the back, and I tried to lower the Great and Clean One save. I picked destroy the broken ranks, so I did broken ranks on the plague bearers in the middle, because I'd shot half of them off already. And I thought, I'm going to put 2 units of thralls in with the exploding attacks. Turtle is going to, and then I basically duped him a little bit, because I shot the plague bearers, he all out defense them, and then I just pivoted and shot everything into the Great and Clean One. Took like 13 wounds off him, then charged him with the Leviathan and killed him in combat after roaring him, so he couldn't all out defense. So he didn't have best day. He had Mystic Shield, but he didn't have anything else. And I thought, well, the Leviathan should kill him. The aspect of the sea failed his charge, but he was at the back. I teleported him at the back because I thought that gives me the opportunity to go for these 2 objectives, and it also gives me the ability to lock down these 2 trees and maybe knock them over if I turn myself into a monster. So I failed my battle tactic in the middle, but I was just did enough. And then the beasts, he kind of come in with the beasts into the center, and didn't really, he killed a load of thralls, but then because I'm more fan, I bought like 6 thralls back, and it's like, it doesn't really get rid of my units. I'd already killed his Lord of Afflictions and Pascal Blightlord at this point down here. So I was worried about these beasts coming here, but because he's got no hero here, and he can't make the Auto 6 run, so he couldn't get on the objective unless he rolled a 6. He did roll a 6, but I had a shark there, so he did trump it, but he only had it for 1 turn, then I took it back again. So it was fine. And yeah, by this point, he'd lost the Great and Clean One. He had no heroes left. The Plague Bearers down to 2 models. I'd killed half the beasts, and then like I won the turn roll, and it was kind of like, well, all I'm going to do is kill your beasts. And I think we called it when he only had like 2 beasts and Nurgle left. So it was basically going to be a big win to me. But it was super interesting because the aspect of the sea with his heal, taking the disease points off, putting wounds back on the sharks, and every time he casts, he heals. He can actually pin the Nurgle units, and they can't kill him. You do better in that right now, I think, than he heals. And then because enough damage, my thralls get a ward in high tide, they get and they can come back. So again, they do really well. And yeah, I was worried about him being really aggressive with the beast and getting loads of mortals on the charge, but that just didn't happen. So it was a big win to me. I think he could have won that game if he was a lot more aggressive. Yeah, especially with the beast running and charging. If they're just running in a line up, even if they're like next to the Great and Clean One, they don't need to be like camping the back objectives.
No.
I know I can teleport, but you only need one beast to be giving you summoning points that can basically run to whichever objective it needs to be on. And you can summon from the back trees, so you could just put a beast rather than put a Bile Piper down. Turn 2, you just put a beast behind you on one of the objectives. So you're like, well, he's battle line, he trumps, or 10 Plague Bearers. That's the same, still good.
I've been trying to write lists that start with what they need.
Yes.
More and more and more.
It's what we said with Sinesh, wasn't it? Like, start with what you want, not banking on the summoning.
Yeah, exactly, for sure.
So at the end of the game, this was the shot at the end where basically, towards the end, where I had a turn and basically those all died. That died. This is where he came in actually, and then I'd killed all. That's where the Great Cleveland was dead, and then he had his turn, charged me and stuff. Then I turned him back. So it was a good game though. It was super interesting because I thought it was a really bad matchup for me. And I just found that my army, because I'm playing more fan, because I've got the ward, because I've got the infantry come back, and I've got this sea, I've actually got a lot more sustain than probably a lot of other Idoneth armies, so it wasn't as bad. So
you do so much better in that grind than the Nurgle player would expect. It's a very, very big difference because you do more damage than Plague Bearers do no damage.
Well, I found, it's just the disease points, but I thought as well, like he put the Lord of Affliction and Pascal down way too early. He should have waited. I'd have put them down on the same turn the beasts are getting committed, because then they're actually going to get more value, because I could concentrate on killing them and nothing else. I had nothing else to worry about, so I just concentrate on killing them. I think it was a bit early for them to come down. Yeah,
for me, generally speaking, it's turn 2 or 3, and there was only one exception to that, I think, over my 5 games.
And I think that's a mistake I made with my Nurgle when I played them. I was drilling the drones down way too early. Just don't think
I guess if you're being aggressive with Pappy, then maybe you want them next to him or something. Like you drop them in front of your army, in front of your opponents, not behind them, which they never expect. Weirdly, they're so busy guarding this bit, and then you're like, well, I'm going to drop here and try and run into your face. Yeah.
So that was my game, and you were playing
13-7, 17-3, was it?
17-3 to me.
17-3,
yeah. So I went 20-28-17 at the moment. So you played Tom Lees's Kragnos Stonehorn Fun.
I continue to take one for the team. My God, this is an aggressive army.
Yeah.
So I guess, have you got the picture deployment up?
Yeah.
So I think actually that's
just after you've dropped your drones, I think.
That picture is, so that's, he gave me
turn 1
first, I think. Yep. So I shuffled forwards a little, and there was a really good play I could have made here with Kragnos. If I'd done my movement more cleverly, I could have put my Plague Bearers slightly further forwards, so that for Kragnos to get within range of, I didn't particularly care if Kragnos got into the Plague Bearers. I wanted him in and gooed up and within 3, so I could screw about with him as soon as possible and casualty remove and stuff like that. I could have put my Plague Bearers slightly further forwards, so that if Kragnos wanted to come within 6 of the objective, which obviously was his aim, he would have had to have also been within 9 of me, so I could plot back and give him a harder charge to make. Or made it so he just, he couldn't have got within range at all if I'd done something a bit more aggressive. So maybe I should have yellowed a beast out there right in the middle or something to just to play with ranges, sacrificed a thing that I didn't care about and kept his army back for one more turn. That would have been good. I realized that like 5 seconds after I didn't do it. I couldn't change anything. So
yeah,
that was it. Jones and Lord of Affliction came down, didn't make the charge because they don't make the charges ever. I hate it. It's so annoying. Like, that's a really crappy...
It's so big in this against this army as well because the Immortal's on the charge.
Yeah, right. So they kind of pop down, and then I guess the next picture is just going to look like
stuff everywhere.
Yeah, well, that's going to be his. So he got priority, and he went aggro as you do and as you can, and he got some big charges. He got a 17. So that's 17 dice on a 4+. More wins. Going on. Got 17, a 13, and a Kragnos. Went in, did all of the damages, Ended up wiping out the Great Unclean One for exactsies because I couldn't leave the screen in the way enough. Yeah, it was just ridiculous. He only hit him with the 3-inch weapon, but
that's enough though. Sometimes,
yeah, stuff just went crazy. At this point in a singles event, I would have conceded.
Yeah, because you've got like just drones and beasts left, right, and Epidemus,
right, and his stuff isn't particularly damaged. But I didn't, because it was a team event. Tom was being a gent, you know, like his dice were just being good. It wasn't like mine were awful, his were solid. But he got priority he needed, and he went really aggro, which I think was the right play. And then what happened was I was running Nurgle, and I made some saves, and he didn't do very well with hit rolls.
And he got some disease, and then was it Barpipe Immortals from the drones? Was that what did the damage?
I didn't like some of the, unless it's like the big proper ones, like a Thunder Tusk. He had one Thunder Tusk in there because you have to with points with Kragnos if you want the big boy on the Stonehorn, which he did. So that one, you can see in the picture, that's there. That was just going to die anyway. It died, didn't need much, help. Epidemius did his job really nicely of tanking and holding stuff in and out of range, and then the drones kind of snuck around the back and were just ultimately annoying, like really, really irritating. Ended up kind of everything circled around. With Kragnos, you either want one thing within 3 that's going to survive it, so he has to run away, or so many things touching him. With Nurgle, that's all right. It's not stupid.
And you're stopping him piling in, right? So he can only hit with one attack. If he doesn't kill it, he's still pinned.
Exactly. So you either have the one thing within 3 or everything within 1, and he just has to split attacks, and he never comes away from that okay. So I ended up having 2 beasts into him. He was in contact with the Plague Drones. He was in 3 of Epidemus. And I was just playing with ranges. He couldn't shoot out.
And this was battle line chump on the objectives, right? Because this is the 5. Or is this the double tick one? I can't remember. I can't see it.
It's not the double tick one.
No, so he is capturing that middle one.
Yeah, well, but definitely with Kragnos and his million.
But I guess by the time that he's committed and you've started killing him, you're probably taking the others off him.
Yeah, I couldn't reach the one that is in the top left of the picture very easily. So I ended up having to run my Lord of Afflictions over, try and get a charge and a pile in and stuff like that. But essentially around turn 3-4, damage just mounted up. I ganked Kragnos, Beast went in. I did really badly on impact hits. I charged with Lord of Afflictions, not all on the same target, but in the same turn. Charged Lord of Afflictions, rolled a 1, charged all of my beasts, 2 of them rolled 1s. And ends up having a really close round of combat and killing Kragnos exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And Kragnos was down, and then basically that was game over. Weirdly, like a proper flip flop.
That's really interesting because it looked like your army just been completely decimated.
Oh, I felt it had. I was going to concede.
And then you were like, "Don't care. Don't need the other stuff. I've got drones and beasts."
I had Epidemus just stood there, like, you're 3 inches away. You're 3 inches away and literally can't touch me. Kragnos has got. He'd taken a little bit of damage, so I think he bracketed once, and I did the best day ever on Epidemus, and I had some of his rerolls left, and so he just stood there, and then with some heals, he did okay, and you don't once your opponent is like, the Plague Bearers are powerful because you can remove them until your opponent isn't engaged.
Yeah.
If you've got something that is engaged and you've got some flexibility with islands and stuff like that, you don't need the Plague Bearers, and you don't need the Great Unclean One because you don't have to be tanky because someone's got to run away. And then if you can stop them from running away, the terrain was obviously helpful here as well because there's this kind of weird funnel. I just ran up behind them and they couldn't get out of the space, so no one had an option, and then they just nurgled them. Really. It was a very interesting game, though. I've not had a game that flip-floppy from absolutely in someone's favour to absolutely in the other person's favour over 2 turns. I've never had a game of AOS like that. So yeah, it was a really interesting one. Super interesting. That ends up being a 20-0, which I wasn't expecting.
Wow, well done.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Just play the mission, don't matter if you got many models. But I think the Nurgle deceptive because you still got quite a lot of good quality models in the army, because the Plague Bearers really, they're just a gummy, and the Great and Clean One is a linchpin. But you lost like 8. If you've actually added up the points, it's what, like 800 points, 795.
The thing is, if the rest of your army's MSU, you can be in several places on the table. And with the Lord of Afflictions taking the drones, one of them can be far away, even if you are quite slow. I do see like one unit of Nurglings or Furies or anything else like that that could allow you to be somewhere else would be really powerful.
Because Fury's been able to like retreat instead of fight and stuff, and they're 2 wounds each, and they leash 10. And
yeah, they've also got like if you're going against something crappy like a wizard, I think they're 2 attacks each, 3s and 3s, rend 1 damage 1 or something. So you can just like blob around something. The other thing is they're in 6s, which is odd, which is bad for coherency, but good for being more than 5 of your opponent if your opponent's in 5s.
What's quite interesting as well, you can almost like charge something on the edge, and then they can't kill you, and then you use your activation to go. You must say move, charge, and then move again, and you can almost jump the whole table to get on a back objective.
Yeah,
so yeah,
for appropriate points rather than ridiculous points.
Yeah,
95 for 6.
Yeah, it's a good ally to have in your army, I think.
Yeah, I definitely felt the lacking of fast options pretty hard, just in general.
So we didn't beat them, but we took quite a lot of points off them, didn't we?
I think we're the only people at that point of the tournament who hadn't got capped by them. So that was still an achievement for us. We had some. Was that the round where we had some crazy luck? As well?
I'm not sure. I know that
was that the one where Mike rolled 6 1s on his saves on an Archeon, then re-rolled them and got 6 more 1s and was just dead.
I don't know. I didn't hear about that story. I didn't even know about that. So I think that's the round where James beat Matt Tinsdale's
it was, yeah.
Stormcast. So yeah, super good. I think yeah. I mean, we didn't get capped. We took points off them. So because I got a 17 against Brad and you got a 20, and then yeah, I think James beat Matt. I don't know what else happened, but we didn't get capped. So
Tom took one for the team playing JP with his Lumineth with Tom's Seraphon. He got 20. So kind of my result and his result ended up cancelling each other out.
Because I think we took about 18 or 28 points off them. So Paul, no, I can't. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I can't remember.
I remember that number. It was important later. We'll come to that in a bit, I guess.
Yeah, and then we the last round I played Gleam Spike Git Squig Army. I have pictures of the setup. It honestly, I took high turn tone 2. I tried a big brain play where we're playing this team war, so they're a bit more like narrative, but more fun gamers. So I teleported my aspect to the sea here, made him a monster, went for the charge on the shrine to kick it over. But eventually I had the Turtle and the aspect to the sea fighting the shrine. I was fighting on this objective. I killed a Mangler here. I killed his boss here. I'd shot off the unit of squigs that were here. The Boingrots he teleported, I'd killed. It was like the Reavers didn't even get out the boat until later on because they could run out of targets close by. But basically I just was able to go in, and at the end of the game when we called it, he had his boss on a wound fighting a shark, Dobby fighting my Keelian dude, and 2 units of 5 squigs in the shrine and the shaman. And it was well, that's basically game, because you ain't gonna come out of this. And then because they're all in combat.
The turn 3 menagerie wins.
Well, it was turn 2 high tide went in, and just literally he won the turn 2, but he didn't fight me because I can't fight you. So his turn 2 was just retreating and trying some magic, and I was well, turn 3, bottom of turn 2, it's my go. All I had to do is be careful that if he won if I didn't have a good turn and he won turn, went into the other turn, that he couldn't just auto win, because I was playing the auto win scenario. But I won the turn roll, and just deleted his army, and that was it basically. We called it after about 45 minutes.
You were done quite a bit before I was done.
Yeah, give me a lot of time to pack up and walk around and get a coffee and chat to people. Yeah, I got your coffee too. Yeah, so But yeah, it was fun though. I mean, like it's a bit strange. I didn't know what any of the stuff in the army did, and he had a really interesting combo on the boss on Squig on Mangler, where he had the arcane tome, which made him a wizard, and then he gave him the trait that you could only give to a wizard, which means you have to reroll all successful hits against him.
That's cool.
And I was like, that's a bit, but I just all out attacked my 2 sharks. So they were 2s. I had to re-roll. So basically 2s. I rolled like quite a few 1s. I re-roll, roll a couple more 1s. Then I burnt my triumph for wounds. 2s to wound. Don't have to re-roll that. And with Ren 2 on the 8 attacks from the bites, and he just killed him to the wound. So I was like, okay, take that. I wasn't gonna risk shooting him because it's just not worth it. I mean, you can kind of get away with it, the Reavers, because you can hit on 2s, and it's like it doesn't really matter. You probably miss 4 or 5 shots, and then you'd probably do enough damage. But they shot the other Mangler off to the wound. Then the Thralls charged it and killed it. I was like, okay. But yeah, it was pretty brutal, that game. I think it was kind of a combat army versus my army, and High Tide is never going to be fun for them, because especially
we had 6 brutal, fast, hard, heavy games where
there was just you and Andy playing for the like an hour and a half when everyone else was sat around.
Yeah, basically. So, I know that James took the Glockin off his opponent in his opponent's turn 1. He got like 8 hits and wounds with the club or something.
So he like countercharged him like with the Glockin into his Gatebreaker, and his Gatebreaker hit and wounded everything and killed it. Then it was just like, oh, dead.
Bye 700 points.
It was funny because during my opponent's turn 2, like 3 of his team came over and were like, oh yeah, we're going to go because the trains and our game's done. And he was like, okay, can I have your result? And it was like, so like 3 people while we were playing, and then it was quickly done. Yeah. So yeah, interesting. But I mean, it was kind of, I did look at the match and I was like, I don't really know what any of it does. I don't know if it's good or bad, and I don't know what, but I'm sure it's fine. It's Gloomspite gets, right?
It is. I mean, 400 points worth of help or more, as we found from our so I had a nice, easy, I played Tactis and Lumineth and took on the team again. I think he had like, he was doing 4 spells for Tactis, and then he had like 4 or 5 other casters, so I was seeing nearly 10 spells a turn.
They cast so much magic
that I couldn't stop. He made my Great Unclean one -2 to Dispel as well. That was great. I didn't get off a spell this game, and he got off most of his spells, including putting down the do D3 or D6 AoE one, and he just kept on getting 6s followed by 6s with Guildboard dice. My old company just
to rub it in.
Further, yeah. So it was a weird one. I wanted to keep him at range as much as possible, and I was fully aware that if I could stop him from getting a couple of his strats, I mean, I'm talking about how to play Warhammer, but if I could stop him from getting a couple of his strats, and I could make sure that I didn't miss out on mine, that was going to be really big. So my aim was to get, like, with it being I think it's 1 team more than you in this one, and you could burn your opponents. Neither of us particularly wanted to get to our opponents. Me because of his stand and shoot, which is just disgusting, and him because he didn't want to come towards me because it was sensible not to. So I ended up in this really strange position where I had to leave a load of stuff checkerboarded back with these 9-inch sticks everywhere, making sure there wasn't space for him to teleport Teclis, because you can do it from combat, of course, why not? And loads of other stuff like that. But I knew that if I could get some powerful summoning in the bank, not on the table, but in the bank, then I thought he could pretty much just pick one thing a turn and kill it. And maybe he could only pick stuff that was, like a beast or drones or stuff that I could replace. So my idea was to just, if he killed something, I'd try and put it back on the table. Yeah, exactly that. And ideally it'd be a beast because they're impact hits and they give you a few more options. So he took first turn. I got to see the full length and breadth of Attackless Magic phase, which it's been a long while since I've seen one. Bloody horrible. He was concerned with killing Epidemius, who survived on a wound, which turn 1 makes sense, but then he continued to target him. Epidemius, once you got your rerolls, they're just there. It's not while
they
this
don't.
model's on
You
the
don't
table.
lose them. Yeah.
You write them in your book, your imaginary book, but they just exist. So he targeted him once when he shouldn't, and then one turn he picked Pappy, and I think he got him down to like 3 wounds left. I burn every single reroll that I had remaining. I'd used a couple on trying to stop his spells unsuccessfully.
Yeah.
Because it felt important enough that I should. And so I denied him 1 strat with that because he didn't kill Pappy, and Pappy survived, which was obviously big and helpful. Unfortunately, then Pappy got a charge off into Tactis and was 5.9 inches from a lady who was like, "You have to hit me because of my command trait."
I saw that charge and I was like, yes, he's made that charge, because I didn't say it, but I saw you roll the dice and you'd use a command point to re-roll it.
Yeah, I used it for 2. It was really important.
And then it was like, and I didn't realise that was a thing, but
me neither.
It's a shame. You probably could have put him where he wasn't within 6, right?
I used I used my max charge after the reroll.
Right.
He needed either an 8 or a 9,
It was 8.
and I moved him to exactly that. And I was, so I couldn't have been anything different. But it's activated at the start of the phase, so I couldn't pile in out of it. So when he told me about it, it's like, I can pile in out. It's like, no, it's start of phase. I pick him. He has to attack me 6 inches away. So I tried to kill her. Got her down to 1 wound left with the beasts. It was either a beast or Epidemus who was in contact with her. So that was still going off. So my Great Unclean One couldn't attack. But at this point, I'd zoned off the table enough that I was just trying to keep ahead on having denied the objective. So I dropped things in his deployment zone. I'd wiped out a battle line. I'd run for units first turn. So I was up on mine, and then he hadn't got his. Once or at least twice, I think.
You can see you just basically making this like Nurgle zone of not going.
I couldn't use my models. It was like I just had to use my stuff in the middle of the table. And my idea was that.
But you're winning the mission doing that, right? So
yeah, exactly. So the idea was that I was going to push him right over to one side of the table. I put my trees. I put 2 trees down, like on the left. Yeah. I should have spread them around more. But the idea was that I wanted him to kind of concentrate on this side of the board for the first half and then push him to this side of the board later, which he did do. He ended up teleporting Teclis over there. I couldn't touch him at that point, but essentially we got to a bit where, because of him trying to be cheeky with the 6 inches thing on my Great Unclean One, I piled around attacking the Cathbar. I think it's Cathbar Lady. Yeah. He brought his archers within 1 inch of the thing that was attacking her in the pile-in. So I'd taken no stand and shoot throughout the game, which I really didn't want to have to deal with any of. And at the point at which I'd killed some of his units, he had slightly less boss on them, so they didn't have the rerolls. They did have the mortals on. They did have the rerolls, but they only had mortals on 6s.
Right.
He was making sure he got his teleports and other stuff like that.
Yeah, he had to use his magic on other things, not the buffs. So
yeah, and his 5-up after save dropped off on one side of the table. So essentially, at that point, I just ended up sweeping over and got a big win out of it. It was a really interesting game, though. Actually, like for all my bitching about Lumineth and Tactis and stuff like that, like it was a genuinely very interesting and enjoyable game. Like everything mattered. His faces felt horrible. If I wasn't Nurgle, I'm sure it would have been a horrible game, and I would have hated it. But I was Nurgle, so it was all right.
Yeah, I mean, like it's just so tough to break down the Nurgle army, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
Because the shooting's not really enough to kill a beast, and then you just heal it back, D3 wounds, or you put it back on the table with summoning.
I did, yes.
He only needs 1 turn where he doesn't kill it, and you're like...
Yeah, he got 1 for battle line, and then I just replaced it, and then it made its 9-inch charge and went in and did some helpful stuff. But essentially all I could do was just try and cover the table as much as possible. It made me really think I would have liked, 2 Lord of Afflictions.
Yeah.
Just to be able to be annoying on 2 sides. It's so powerful against an army like that.
Because even a Lord of Afflictions and a single +score Blight Lord dropping is enough of an annoyance.
Mortal wounds on them as well. You get mortal wounds around the Lord of Afflictions in the hero phase.
For the Incubatch, right?
Yeah, so. Yeah. And I think it's on a good roll as well. It's on a 2+ or something. Yeah, it's
silly, and it's on a 6 against Nurgle, I think. So.
Yeah,
you have to roll for your own units, which is weird.
Yeah, on a 4+, but it's on a 2+ if you have an Incubatch, and you can choose to have an Incubatch, and there's no downside. So
Well, you hurt yourself though, don't you? So.
Yeah. So yeah, that would have been a good option. I thought I was like, finally, my great uncle wants to get to hit something in combat, and then that happened. So literally, that ended the event. He had not fought in combat once over 5 games.
Bizarre.
Which really makes me wonder if
that's so weird. Like when I played at the Bloodshed, every game he was fighting, he killed Nagash, he killed more Crushers. He was just in combat all the time, doing damage, belly flopping.
He did stuff in the last one, but in this one, he just, I think because I was against scary armies and how the team was using me.
Do you think you were just playing way more conservatively because you were like, well, I don't need to push the game. I'm in a bad match. They need to come and beat me.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to play them as, so.
Forcing me to be patient. And, with Kragnos, also, you're not going to put him on the front line when Kragnos
no.
36 in.
No, of course not. But,
or Marathi.
Well, Marathi, I don't know. I don't think she kills him on the charge. I don't think she's good enough.
Oh, well, it was her plus next.
Oh, yeah, shooting, yeah. So.
Yeah. So I lost him. I lost him before my turn 2 on 2 occasions.
Oh, because you said he shot you twice, once in the hero phase. And then,
yeah.
That's
what it is. Yeah. I had tactical games and I was in all of them. I chatted to a lot of people about this. I'm not sure if I necessarily enjoy this version of the list. In a teams event, absolutely fine, but I don't like. Had I taken this to single, I'm not sure if I take this to singles.
But you hadn't really lost many games, did you? I mean, like,
no, I won 4.
What's wrong with that? Then? It's fine.
I have to enjoy it as well, right?
No. Yeah, but they do. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just the death player in me. I love armies where like that when you're just there and they're doing all this stuff, and then you're just winning the mission, and you're like, yeah, I'll still win.
No, I do like it. It does let you concentrate on the tactical stuff. I think I just need to make the list feel like it's mine a bit more. I spammed you with list over the last 24 hours, haven't I? So I've got some.
Yeah, unfortunately, when I got back and you were sending me all them, because I was in the car and I was like, I don't really want to look at this now while I should be engaging with the driver and making sure he's not bored. And I got back and then my partner was like, oh, hi, so I better not be on the phone talking Warhammer. And then, so.
And now we're recording.
No, So I was looking at them, but I was.
I'll have a fiddle with them and tweak a little bit more.
I did go to bed with the Deepkin book last night, and a cat. Basically, that was my
solid combo.
So I know I did. It wasn't there when I went to sleep, and then I moved, and I was like, "Oh, there's a lump on my leg. What's that? Oh, it's a cat. Okay, it's fine." So they were. I think they particularly missed me, which was quite nice. But yeah, it was fun. So,
I had to read the Nurgle book on my own.
Oh,
no,
fine. I can loan you a cat at some point.
Cheers, I'll take it.
No, Clara kill me. Anyway, so
what happened then? We had our stompy last round. We had kind of denied Team JP some points, potentially importantly, 29 points. We denied them in the penultimate round. How did things end up finishing?
Well, before we get on to that, do you want to talk about painting? Because I got all the pictures off Richie's Twitter.
Absolutely.
So there was some painting.
Tell me whose it is and what you've got up, and I'll remember it.
So I've got the Flesh Eater Court converted
it's really
Bretonian
cool.
army, which I love this one.
It's super characterful, all painted with oils. All of it with oils.
You have like these horrible like mini ghouls riding big ghouls on all fours.
And disgusting, yeah.
Pegasus Knight like flayers. It was great. And men at arms ghouls. I mean, it's so heavily converted. I mean, the pictures, forgive me, the picture's a little bit washed out, I think, because it's on a white background or it's Richie's phone, I don't know. But yeah. And then he had like it was like a properly converted Lady of the Lake courtier using a banshee and stuff. It was really cool. Like I really liked it.
Brilliant army. Like very cool. Like a proper, like you sit down for 5 minutes and just look at all the little stories that it's got.
It almost looks so drab though. You almost like don't look at it because you don't even realise. Then you look at it, and you go, "Oh, all the red shields, and the blue, and the heraldry."
Made for black table.
Yeah, sure. And then our very own Tom's Daughters of Cain. So
solid,
just super solid. Yeah. That was one of the noms. So quite nice. Then we had Brad's Nurgle, which I actually really like his Nurgle.
Yeah. He's used not beasts, which I think is a good idea because they're just too, especially when you got 6 of them or 8 or whatever he's got.
He's got 8.
Just,
yeah.
Yeah, the model is just too mirrored. If you got 2 of them, they look like they're
I don't know what models he's used, but I really like them.
They're I think he paid 3D for a Kickstarter's 3D printer stuff or something. But they're very cool.
Yeah, they're really nice.
Freaky, aren't they?
Yeah, sort of lots of nice, clever, lots of high contrast stuff.
Yeah.
Quite like
He's
his
a very good painter.
Drones and stuff. Yeah, he is actually. Yeah, and it was nice to play against it. So that was a really nice. He had like this nice lavery type bases. I think the bases on like the Great and Cleveland that don't really match the beast. I don't know. It's a bit.
No,
it's when a bit hit and miss with.
Richie asked for my opinions on the voting, and I won't vote for anything that's got incoherent basing.
Because like his Great and Cleveland's got like lavery patches, and so do the Plague Bearers, but then the Nurglings and the Beasts don't have it. And I was like, okay. So I think if he upped the basing on the army, it'd look amazing.
I had it all the same. Yeah, I agreed.
I think the basing's too drab as well. Like I think it just needs some bright colours on the base. Like even if it's just flowers.
Yeah.
Something to lift it.
Classic.
Then there's an Archeon list, which I think is it Mike's?
Mike's, yeah. Really solid looking army.
Really nice actually. I've not really seen it before, so
he's got a fair bit of time. He's been using it for a while, hasn't he? I don't know if he's continued to tweak it or if it's always been at that.
I generally most of his armies are really nice. I just normally only see him play Daughters of Cain or Sinesh, so I haven't seen this one. I don't think I might have been at an event of it, but I didn't clock it. You know,
I think it might have been at a FaceHAMMER.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Then there's the Gargant army, which is super solid.
I love that. His first event. Like good consistent basing, which some of the armies didn't have. Decent amount of stages that are his color choices for his shadows were nice. That was one of my things I particularly liked about it. Got all these volumes and muscles on stuff, and I thought that the highlighting was really nice on it.
Nice OSL on the Kraken. Yeah,
absolutely. A couple of gaps on it, which was like the bit to pick at, but aside from that, I thought it was amazing. And
he's got some mold line like underfill bits, hasn't he? So the chest piece on the gatebreaker is got, you can see the join, but stuff like that. But yeah, still really good. And then it's the Squig army that I played. So
again, characterful.
Yeah, really nice. And that's got like lots of models, but well painted and looks cool. I mean, its Gloom Spite always looks cool. I do like his saloon shot of the big yellow moon on it, so it's quite cool. And then my army, which was nice to be.
Yours are the best on the white tablecloth. Your basing really, I think, is it's a super strong point because you can sit yours in any environment and it just looks clean and slick and pretty tasty. Whether it's good light, bad light, white background, black background.
Yeah, I do have tufts to go on, but I haven't decided what colours. I got these.
Maybe do your highlights first and then see.
I got like these Alien World ones. So I got like orange and red ones.
Games Grass ones.
Yeah, and I've got some like turquoisey ones, but I don't know if they're too close to the basin. And I got some pink ones, so I don't know, purpley.
Look at us with all of our tufts within each.
Yeah, so I'm thinking about using these ones because I really like those, but they're quite close to the other colours, so then breaking it up with an orangey yellow. But I was going to put these, but I think they might be a bit bright. They're like pink. Yeah. They're like way too bright. Yeah, I was thinking airbrushing them. Yeah. And I've got these blue ones, but I think they're too blue.
Yeah, you could dry brush those with like a grey to knock it back or something.
Well, I might airbrush grey over it to knock it off. I haven't decided. But I've got a super... Like, that's like an orangey yellow. So I was thinking that one, but it might be too different.
Yeah, you
so I think about those two.
Aren't you? Give it a go. You can always blue wash the orange to pull it back.
Yeah, well, I was thinking maybe do a very thin despair green airbrush over it, so it kind of knocks it out.
Why not? I mean, why have one thing on your army without it?
Yeah, exactly. It's got to be on everything, right? So
Yours looked really good. It was the 3 bits that we picked out ourselves as the
skin and robes.
The robes, the weapons, and
the skin. Yeah, just need to highlight those, and it'll be fine.
Yeah, those highlighted. I think your army's going to look insane. It's going to look really, really nice.
I mean, it is. Yeah, it's not finished really. It was quick to table, so and it keeps getting broken now. So everything keeps breaking.
Fragile fish.
And I need to I've put so much super glue on some of it. I need to now cover it in varnish to hide it, and it's fine. Just me being me. And there was another Nurgle army with a cool converted epidemus on a drone.
This is
Paul
Scott's one, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about this because I looked at it and was like, that answers all of my issues with my army. Thank you. So he used toads instead of beasts. I don't like the beasts. I like painting them even less. I hate painting them. So I'm going to do that and steal that idea. I also hate the trees. And he had one of the trees normally, but he also had these, I don't know what they were there, but he had I asked him about them. He had a fish tank dried wood, which was really cool shapes. And he was, I don't know if he was using it for terrain or display or something like that, but I want to use that instead of the trees to hate the trees. And maybe I'd take the 3 taily bits off and stick them on it or something like that, or have them on the base or something to keep the theme. But I love Plague Bearers. I love the Great Unclean ones. I think every character they have that's plastic is pretty much just some of the best shit they've ever made.
Yeah.
But I cannot stand the trees or the beasts. I really hate them. They make me upset when I look at the army. So I
really like his drone with a beast head.
Oh, he's done.
It looks really funny. He's
all the way over the army. There's these little characterful things. His epidemus is lovely with the
that's horticulous, isn't it? And then he's got the brazier from the corpse cart.
Yeah, I was gonna say corpse cart. Yeah,
and then
on my phone of that one.
Yeah, the banner top. And he's got the drone body as the bottom of it. I really like this. The back banner from the flagellant sprue frame.
It's really, really clever thought there. He's always been an efficient, talented painter, and the army looks really, really solid. His list is also super duper interesting. I think he's put his own thought into that list and come up with something that other people aren't using. Really, really interesting. So I think he's got 2 solo Lord of Afflictions that just kind of run around and do whatever they like. Bunch of beasts, and then he's outputting more mortal wound damage than some of the other lists are. I don't think he's got. Is he got no Plague Bearers in it, or does he have Plague Bearers?
I don't think he's got Plague Bearers. I think he's got Horticus, Lord of Afflictions, Epidemus, a Chaos Sorcerer, a Great and Clean one, 3 Nurglings as Bile Piper, and then beasts. But I don't know how much that is summoning. He's got 2 Bile Pipers, so I've seen summoning. But I'll have to look at his list. But yeah, super good.
Yeah.
And then that's it. So you've got a picture of the nominees. So they're the people that got nominees. See me in the back, being cheeky. And the winner was the ogres, right? No, sorry, not ogres. Scargons, same thing. Just big ogres.
Yeah, I thought they were really nice. And he looked properly surprised as well when his name was called, which is really sweet.
Yeah.
I'm sure if that's his first event, I'm sure we'll see some other hasty stuff from him to come in the future.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then, overall, spoiler, we came 3rd.
Woo!
So, 3rd place for the team is pretty good. So, quite happy with that.
Yeah, really pleased. We had some pretty bad luck in important rounds, like Mike's 6-1s re-rolled into 6-1s and stuff that swung games hugely. Obviously, you're going to get some good luck and some bad luck, and you hear more about the bad luck. But I do think in several, 2 or 3 pivotal games in pivotal rounds, we had some pretty improbable stuff happen. So I think it was an amazing finish considering that.
Yeah, it's a good result. And then in 2nd place was Team JP. They actually won every round, even beating Wales, but they didn't beat us by enough as to actually take the event. So
20 points, and they didn't get 29 from us.
Feel a little bit guilty about that, but it's fine. So it's fine, so they came in 2nd, but solid result considering they obviously like the top players in there, like Max and JP and Darren and Tom and all good, and Matt's also.
I think Darren was a last minute ad. Brad was asked, not quite as last minute, but later on after someone else dropped out or something like that. So they did very well.
Yeah, and then in first place was Team Wales.
Best Wales ever. Yeah, all lovely, really high average player quality, like really, really high, and a couple of outstanding players in there. Very strong list, and they were just lovely all weekend. So nice to see.
Yeah, they also got best dressed team because they had club shirts. But yeah, I think well done to those guys. Obviously, a good practice them for Worlds, and nice to see them finally get from all the 6 nations we've been to actually see them actually win something out. So I think it meant a lot to them, and it's well deserved. So
absolutely different. I think they went in with a different attitude. I spoke to a few of them, and they would just like heads down on their stuff, doing their best, trying to win their games and be nice about it. And I didn't hear anyone say anything.
I think Owen was the captain, so like obviously Mark normally captains, so just that might indicate. No, I'm just kidding, Mark. I'm sure it's fine. He doesn't mind. But it's nice to see them take it out, and well deserved. Yeah, played very well. Had good lists, so hopefully they can go to Worlds and be successful.
I think they'll do pretty well. I'd imagine. Yeah. I put them definitely probably in the upper third of ability from people who are going to be there.
I'm not sure if it's the same group going. I don't know, but
I think at least a few of them were, and have been practicing hard, and got their list honed and stuff. So
yeah, be good to see them take it out. So it's good. So overall, Wales had 5-5-6, and Team JP had 5-3-6. So obviously 20 points different. We were on 4-1-5, so quite a way behind, but quite ahead of Team GP, Mighty Destroyers, and Team WAR. We did get more battle tactics than Team JP, which was nice. So second highest in the event at 153. And joint ground strategies with Team GP, which is interesting. So
it's interesting,
but yeah, so I think that's a good result for us over the weekend. So I think we were fairly casual with the whole thing, and just played our games, and it was just nice to be part of a different team, because normally I'm on
a really nice team.
Yeah, and nice to spend some time with people I don't normally hang out with as much at events. So it was a lot of fun. So really appreciate the ad to Paul and the guys from down south. So yeah, and I know he was trying to get Tom up to dad mode. That's Tom Bastion, and it was good to see that Tom Blacksall come in last minute. So we needed an extra.
Yeah,
so
he did help us out.
Yeah, really helped us out, and played well with Seraphon. So it was good. So fun weekend all round. So Richie did a really good job running it. So yeah, it was really smooth. If you want to see anything from the event, you can go on Twitter. I think it's Justplay Richie. He's got loads of like screenshots, pictures of him hiding in the bush, looking at what Team Wales are doing and stuff like that. It's fun. So if you want to look at his feed, you can scroll back through and see some stuff from the event, and each round by round the coverage was good from himself. And it's good venue. So I think they've got an event in October, week after FACEHAMMER, same venue, and they've got a shop event. I think it was in August, might be July.
Yeah. In the store.
You can go to Just Play Games and check their website out, and obviously they've got a YouTube channel to watch their battle reports and stuff. So go and have a look, give them a bit of support. So it's nice to see people doing stuff in the community in the UK that, whether it's running events or having venues that, good to support those people, so they continue to do so. So we've got places to play and talk about, which is the main thing.
Pretty decent scene in the Northwest now for that stuff.
Yeah, it's going really well.
We've got midweek events happening.
I've heard about this.
Last week at
Intrigued.
Element. Apparently it was amazing. So yeah brilliant.
It's going to be a thing of people, I've got to go away on business. Yeah, I've got to stay overnight. Got a really important meeting, tell the kids,
Just give people a chance people who work in the restaurant or catering industry.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Can't get weekends off if you work in certain places. So yeah, it's interesting. It might be. I don't know if it would be like a completely different crowd, but I might try and go to one just to see what it's like, see how many different people are there. It'd be interesting. But yeah, so but yeah, pretty happy. Come away with a trophy. It's the first trophy I've had for a while. So thanks for the guys. And had a lot of fun playing with Deepkin. I'm now completely reversed on what to do with my army. I don't know. I've been trying to think about it, and I thought to spend some time. I just haven't spent enough time thinking about it, and I don't know what the right answer is.
Maybe do a mini show at some point soon where we just got to pick our armies for Alex's event.
Yeah, so
important to that, aren't we?
Yeah, and also the new Daughters of Cain and Nighthaunt book are out soon, so book reviews coming for those. And we've got I want to get Alex on to talk pre-Carnage, probably when the lists have got to be submitted by the 5th this week. So not much time for us to decide. No. So I need to really decide what I'm doing. I am sort of drafting a list like here, but I was going to try and spend some time mapping it out today. But we record instead, and then hopefully we get Joe Purcell on as well, because he's going and talk about what he's doing with his army. So
I talked about his army. I've seen it.
Yeah, but
there is attending with one of the reasons why that book's stupid.
Well, it's not a book though, is it? That's the thing.
Well, yeah,
because it's Legion of the First Prince, right?
I think he's going to do well with that list. It's pretty clever, actually. I'm not taking anything away from it. Like, it's a very, very smart combination of all the best things in Chaos, which is
what Legion is, right?
It is, yeah.
So it's the bin bag of war scrolls for Chaos. So as long as they're demons, right?
I used to get grief for my next. Little did people know how softly they were getting it.
He wasn't really into Compendium, though, was it? So that's yeah, I mean, the Compendium's a thing of the past, thank God. But it's interesting. But yeah, that was a good event. We did all right.
Yeah.
So hopefully that gave you guys some insights into the list and stuff. If you had to, like, you talk about your list and Nurgle, and what would you think is, like, if you were writing a new Nurgle list, what do you think's the, like, auto pick includes, and what things do you think I'm not really bothered about?
It's way more open than I thought. That's my big conclusion coming out of this. I think it'd be mad if you didn't have some beasts, unless you are going the repeat one unit, like Jack build, or something like that. Like, 2 beasts seemed just like a really good idea.
I didn't have any
in every list. Crazy, man. But I think a load of stuff is interchangeable. Beasts, plague bearers, and drones I just view as tough wounds of varying speeds, with mortal wounds or not, and buff ability or not, because you've got the Scrivener to buff the plague bearers. I don't think you have to have any of it. I know it sounds weird, but I thought that you had to have Great Unclean One. I now definitely don't think that. If you used allies instead of, you have to have something that lets you be somewhere on the table, I think. Either your army's got to be dead fast, or you have to have Lord of Afflictions and Friends, or, Furies are an equivalent of something comparable to that. I genuinely don't think there's anything in the book you have to have, which speaks of a really high degree of internal balance. I don't think you even need wizards. Like, you could run a really good list and have no casts in it.
It's crazy talk.
I know, right?
Yeah.
You don't even need plague bearers.
No, I agree with that. Yeah. I mean, they are good, but you don't need them.
A 30 is not bad, though. That's something I am legit thinking about. Just start with, if you're going to summon 10 later, just start with them.
I was thinking about running 30 thralls.
I don't think, people aren't used to it these days.
Just 15 in a line, like 2 deep, and just up the guts. Like,
why not? Rally's
yeah, good, I mean,
kill the thing that they're touching.
Oh, there's only 10 left. 20 dice, rally, yeah. D3 plus 3 back, life swarm. Off the aspect of the sea, just a life swarm and back. Get another 2d3 back. You imagine that. You get your turn, you get d3 plus 3. They go into their turn, they cast life storm, get another 2d3 back. Be like, low tan to go arse 5 up ward until you double turn me. Drop a boat with the artifact.
No, that's 5 up ward. That's interactive either. Your opponent can't stop any of that. It's not spells.
No.
Yeah.
Well, a life swarm, but yeah.
Yeah.
You get a good thing about the aspect of the sea is you just get a reroll. So if you roll low, you're like, they're probably going to unbind that. I'm just going to reroll it.
Yeah, I had the same thing last weekend with Master of Magic. Oh, I got that off on a 6, but I really want it. So I'm going to reroll it. Oh, there's a 10.
Yeah, just don't reroll into a miscast and lose the game. God damn you, aspect of the sea. Especially just better in combat. Just in combat, he's so bad. He's really tanky though, so I just need to start playing differently. I play him like he pins like stuff. Yeah, he's just a support piece, but you know, he's so expensive. I don't know.
We'll see.
I wish he knew the whole. If he knew the whole lore, he'd be really good.
We'll do a list tech show at some point soon, and we'll discuss whatever we've committed to at that point.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you again soon. Like, subscribe, do that algorithm stuff. Support the show. Get a subscription. There's stuff you can do.
Put your 7,000 Nurgle list below because they're all valid.
Yeah. Let me know if you think what colour tufts I should put on my bases. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.
Cheers, guys. Bye.
Bye.